Okay, that's good to know. I sent out the right agenda, but I took an old, Zoom address. So Gary had to correct that. Apologize for that, but, all right, we have a quorum. Could we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 18th?
I'll make that motion.
A motion,
Second.
second. All in favor? All right. Very good minutes.
Thank
Very,
you.
very detailed. We don't have anybody, I guess, interested in talking to us tonight.
Not yet. We're a little bit early.
Is there anybody else up there?
Not yet. And did you see the email from Pete Anderson? He'll be a little bit late.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Follow up on the last meeting, we made several decisions and that there were things that we were going to do. Want to try to follow up when we say we're gonna do something, we've got to get it done. I was supposed to get a hold of the Coast Guard to determine whether or not it's a law or just a recommendation that we would have to be 100 feet from the ferry terminal. Because they have a sign up in Lincolnville that says, yes, stay 100 feet. There are two things that happen, one in Lincolnville, one here. The one in Lincolnville, the harbor master, former harbor master, was asked to move his bait shed away from and stay 100 feet back, and there was a big to-do involving the Coast Guard, Department of Transportation, and everybody. So he did move his bait shed as well as the mooring that he had. Over here, we had a person that had, many years, had his mooring between the dock and the pen. That was Bob Agon.
Right.
And Bob was asked to move his. So based on that, I got a hold of the Rockland Coast Guard. And I asked them if they could give us an interpretation. Is that a law, or is it something that you'd like to have us stay away, or whatever it is? And I went through 2 or 3 people there, and they bounced them to somebody else. And they said, well, we're really a search and rescue unit. We don't deal with that. So they gave me another phone number, which is the regional area out of South Portland. Covers the whole area, so I called that number. And this guy listed off 10 phone numbers very, very fast. If it's legal, the phone number, all the way down, I guess. When he got all done, I wasn't ready to write phone numbers down, and I thought I was gonna talk to a real person. So I tried it again, and I was unsuccessful. So I sent an email to one of my nephews who just got done with the Coast Guard. I said, can you help me? We need to find out if that is a factor, if we redesign the pier, go in a different direction or whatever it is. Want to know if, what the game is. So he said he was you contacted somebody and they're gonna send me something in writing. So I don't really know the answer to the question, but I know that we've got two examples where they were told to get out, so that's it. What, how about contacting the fishermen?
Yeah, so I talked to every fisherman, told them we couldn't put floats there this year. And said that they could come in a tide or two to unload, but then they'd have to take them back out. And so that's the way it's gonna be, no floats this winter by the rain. And a little bit of pushback, but not too bad, only from one guy. That was it.
Bill,
At Grindle Point, we had a swamped vessel that the owner was able to pump out and haul out. PYY and Ethan Spalding are scheduled to do repairs on the pier sometime around after the gear haul out. And no more floats ashore, as Earl said. And it looks like Earl has pictures too. Do you have Grindle Point?
Yeah, so
Okay,
yeah, so these are drone shots that were done professionally, and then of both harbors. And then we're gonna transfer it onto vellum and make regular nice charts and put a number by each one, and we'll have, then we can have a different legend with the coordinates, name. And Good Deeds in Belfast took the PDF file from the drone and actually made these at no charge to us. It was really nice of them. We've done a lot of business with them. He said, no problem. So he has a PDF. If I have to get more of these, I can. So it's gonna be pretty handy.
okay,
So over the course of this winter, I'll get all this done. It's gonna take some time, but,
Well-
oh, yeah, go ahead.
can we get it done this year?
Yeah, that's my goal. I've already started. I've got on my workbench, I got a big roll of vellum I've been working with to get it. And then I'll take that somewhere and get that printed off on harder paper.
So what,
that I brought just as a reference.
That's good to have.
This is a low tide shot at the ferry. I have high tide shots too. I just want to begin to I lost my computer. Last week I rode my bicycle across Wisconsin. My computer fell off my bicycle. And I never bring it, but I did this time anyway, so all I have is this one picture, but I want to begin to look at mooring placement. I need to talk to Tina and see what we have as far as a list for moorings. Is there a list of people who are waiting on moorings?
It's kind of up in the air. Mostly it's Seal Harbor now. I've been telling people basically that the inner part is pretty full. There's no more space here. It's through attrition.
Right. Yeah, I've had a couple of people ask me, I basically say the same thing, that you need to get on a list, but I just don't know.
Yeah, right now,
That we have.
I don't know of anyone that's waiting down here.
how's this guy here?
What's that?
Is that Chris Adams?
Yeah. He was gonna, I tell him. Basically, I told him to hold on, we were gonna get back to him. I've got it on my desk. But I told him we had to see if there was anyone here that was no longer gonna have a boat there or,
Right, and what I'm thinking is that if there is a list, that there may be people ahead of him. As far as,
yeah, I don't know of any.
right, yeah, I just wanna find out.
So we don't have a list.
No,
We-
not as such.
You know, we talked about that. If we ever get to the point where we have a list, then we've got to really
Right,
stick with it.
right. Well, I'm hoping to get this done so we're pretty official. And then when, in the course of doing this, I think there's a few moorings that we're gonna find that, are no longer, the people aren't using them or they've aged out or whatever, and spaces will become available because people have, basically, they just let their moorings sit until someone tells them they can't.
Right,
And, we had a few of those 2 years ago that we had them pull them.
well, if
Where
you
they
look
sold
at if you look at this picture. You know, we've got one mooring that's too close, these could be arranged much more efficiently.
Yeah,
And that was also kind of the point of the low tide. I have low tide, high tide, you know, here you can kind of see the contour. And just to begin to think about, okay, how do we wanna arrange, I don't have the lines on here for where
yeah.
the,
Well, these are all in the harbor here. These are all under,
right, right. So this is the inner harbor shot, and then, you know, there's hearsay, oh, so-and-so moved my mooring, and it's like, well, I don't know if it's moved, but yeah, it's definitely too close to that other boat. And then I've also had people say, you know, I've been on the list for X amount of years,
yeah.
and so I wouldn't wanna
Yeah, I
give,
haven't really heard that, but
right, I'm saying I have, so.
yeah,
That's, yeah. This is just to kind of begin to grasp what even is going on.
you asked the numbers of moorings, so
Yeah,
right at Seal Harbor right now, there's a total, and this goes a little beyond
right.
what the inner harbor, there's a total of about 75.
So you
The ones that are inside, I've got to get that line, but it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 55. At Grindle Point, it appeared there's a total of 51 when I just, and of which the majority would be fishermen, commercial. So that's kind of in broad figures what we've got.
Okay, so. How many do they like in Belfast? What are
Numbers,
they, you got any idea?
a couple hundred, must be a couple hundred anyway, at least.
I know in Rockport, they had a couple hundred,
Yeah,
maybe over,
yeah,
more than that. And, but they have a software package that identifies everything.
yeah,
And they charge mooring fees. We're one of the few places that doesn't charge mooring fees or anything.
yeah.
We're charging a fee to help
Uh,
streamline this process.
Yeah, when we brought it up a few years ago, there was so much pushback.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, well, I remember that. Seems like we're at a point where there's so much competition and we've got people on a waiting list that
Yeah,
whether there's pushback or not, it might be that like,
yeah.
might be time
Well,
to do that and
it's-
say, if there's so much competition, if you want your spot,
It'd be revenue, it'd be revenue.
yeah. That as well.
So,
All right,
Offset that 15K.
so how are things going in getting ready for the winter? How are the fishermen? They settled in, are they accepting of the fact we don't want to have the collision that we had last year?
I haven't talked to anybody yet, because I haven't been down there since.
no, I basically talked to every one of them. I really only pushed back from one person, and it wasn't bad.
Right,
I explained the situation, talked about alternatives, and just said, this is the way it's gonna be. You know, we're not gonna back off of this. This is it.
Uh, are, are the shacks in better condition than they were last year?
Generally, they're in worse and worse condition because those guys are not making money.
Right,
When they make money, they fix things and build new things.
right.
And you can tell the past 3 seasons, they have not made very much money. Compared to what it's been, because the floats are just,
Right.
Yeah. Some of the fishermen that were fishing full time are now only fishing part time. And some of them hardly went out at all last summer. Some of the 2 or 3 of the really serious younger guys did not that bad this summer. But they're really working hard at it.
yeah,
Some of the guys are just kind of halfway doing it and they're not doing as well.
Further east, down around Jonesport, Bucks Harbor, and places like that. The fishermen up there did real well this year.
yeah,
That the price was up,
yeah.
so they, even though that they took fewer lobsters, it made
They
up
did
the
well.
difference. And
Yeah, a couple of the people, I asked every single one of them, how are they doing?
Mhm.
A couple of the guys said they did pretty well. But the bulk of them, no. Of course, that's what they're always gonna say, most of them, but it's moving north, like up around Cutler. That way,
Right.
they're doing really well.
Right,
South of here, not well.
right,
I know one more thing, I was able to acquire a small boat that I can keep in for the winter. Cause I can't keep my big boat in the winter, it'll freeze, so. Have a skiff basically, but
Yeah, and I'll keep that boat in the water all winter, standby up there. That's all equipped.
so. Did
Which
you
boat is that?
get your insurance?
That's my
taken care
commuter boat.
I
It's
still
got a
need to do
cabin
that,
and it's got
of? Huh?
equipment.
I still need to do that,
Okay. I don't want you to
The cat.
lose out.
no,
Not a
that's
It's just a,
a good reminder.
If the town
Oh,
doesn't
the little gray
own
boat.
the
yeah,
boat,
with a cabin.
they have to pay
That's a good
your
boat.
insurance.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
Do you want to, our master report now? I mean, I've got a few more
Yeah.
things I could mention.
Go for it.
We had, a couple boats that I didn't know who they belonged to and they didn't have stickers this summer. So I just had forks in my tractor and I put them up in the parking lot out of the way so I could find out who they were. And I finally found out who they were, got notified, they came and got them. And it was not anything malicious. They simply were forgotten about, basically. Well, there was a couple things, like there was that floating blue thing down there. I finally got a hold of the owner and I hauled it out of the water to get away. So it's been little things, that we keep on top of. But all the boats basically got stickered. We had 36 dinghies there on average with stickers this summer at Seal Harbor.
So, some of them didn't have stickers.
Well, they all finally did. And you know what happened? Some of them put their stickers instead of on the transom in different, or like some would be way down with the fuel tank would hide it, or someone put them the back of the forward seat. One guy I called, he put it in the wrong place. So, it's a pain in the ass, but anyway, we did track them down. And there are repairs that we've got to get done up there. I spoke with Janet about the long term, we're gonna have to replace that pier. So she was gonna get a hold of possibly Zagarsky, and that outfit, but just to
Garvey
have,
and Dorsey.
yeah, just to have an engineered drawing for permitting and everything, and raise it 1.5 to 2 feet, because that was completely underwater in that storm last year. So raise it and have coated rails, steel, same basic type. It's a good, simple design, but we are gonna have to get that done. Right now, just for the winter, we've got a couple rails that need to be refastened. We've got some planks that really need some more fastenings. I did speak to Josh about changing the incline. He hasn't gotten to it yet, but
But you've been talking all summer long.
trying to get stuff done is like pulling teeth. You know,
What's the alternative if they don't wanna do it?
change outfits, I guess, but I'm hoping they'll do it. It's, there's a safety meeting next week, I'll be at, and I've put together a list for Fred too of emergency maritime contacts, you know, like, and, that we'll make available everyone from the Coast Guard, Marine Patrol to each boatyard, cell numbers for after hours, Seal Harbor cell number, because they have a really good boat and water year round. So we'll have an immediate numbers we can go through if there's something in an emergency, you know. So not just me will have them, but Dylan will have it, Fred will have it, other people. So I'll have that, at that next meeting, we're gonna talk about that. Was it Tuesday, Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So if there's an emergency, during the winter,
Right.
who's number one that gets called?
Well, the boatyards have boats in the water. Well, you know, for one, boatyards, of course, Coast Guard, Marine Patrol, they're year round.
I'm just interested.
Oh, here.
What happens on,
Yeah,
This
I have a boat in the water all winter, that's winter equipped. Seal Harbor has a really nice, I mean, Seal Island has a very good one. Dylan King over there, and he's willing, you know, emergency to get out. I've got after hours numbers, you know, for, the boatyards. So they keep boats in the water. Quicksilver, of course, but she'll be on the mainland, who knows?
is
They
it,
don't respond to emergencies.
Yeah,
so Quicksilver is that an option?
I don't know now.
I would not lie.
No,
Pretend
No.
like it's not an option. That's the impression I've been given from
Yeah,
every other, it's come up in conversation is.
but if there's a severe emergency, they're pretty much,
You'd think.
they better respond.
Yeah, that's something called a water taxi.
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah.
EMS for years.
Yeah,
after 8 o'clock, Quicksilver's not available.
yeah.
It,
Right.
that's,
Anyway, but we have people that are, and we have numbers we can call.
I think Nokomis is running that boat.
That's right.
Someone
So,
who's,
so we'll have
And I
his
think
numbers on there.
Fred has been working with that boat as an adjunct.
Right. And that's a pretty big boat.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's the meeting, and that'll be a safety thing. One of the floats at Big Tree that blew last week, one of the dinghy floats, pin came loose. We were able to cinch it in. Ryan came right down with a pin. We fixed it. So, but soon as we get a few more boats off of that, then I want them to start peeling off. You know, maybe we'll leave the one in like we did last year and get rid of all those others.
It seems like we have more boats staying
We
in
do.
the water
We
this
do.
year than last year. So do we need to have a couple of floats?
Well, one dinghy float will do it for what we'll have. Yeah, that's adequate. If we have more than that, it starts being a real strain in the winter in there with the northwest. We should be fine with one. We really should.
All right, so people can't just back on that one opening that we have.
Well, this is we'll keep both big floats in, but this is the little side dinghy float. We'll keep one of those in so we don't tie, you know, that red boat that I keep down there that anyone can use if they have to. I'll do like I did last winter. I'll keep that upside down with, it's got spare oars, it's got an extra oar lock, it's all set. I completely redid that 2 weeks ago. It's all and
Can they get a gurney in your boat?
What's that?
Can they get a gurney in your boat?
I think it probably could, but it'd be enough a bouncy ride. You know, it'd be better in a bigger boat. My boat's not,
Right.
in emergency, we do whatever we have to do, but I mean, it's,
And you've got a.
My boat's coming out of the water. I mean, I was looking at, what I was calling an anytime rapid response vessel in the way of a Parker with a cabin on it, but the town is not interested in that. So now we're just gonna try to get the railings replaced
All right,
on the pier.
anything else?
that's about it, really. I think we're just gonna have to seriously start looking at the replacement of that dock.
So we have a new lease, it's an experimental lease. So it's not for 20 years, it's for less. This is the one that was approved today. What is it for? And where is it located?
I've got to see it. I'm not sure what that one is. You can.
Well,
That's the liquor laws.
Huh?
That's the liquor laws approval.
It's in,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's up by,
Outer Brackets,
Warren
Chair,
Island.
Joe Biden.
Joe Island?
Is it south of Islesboro?
Yeah. It's gonna, I'm not sure which one. It was a while ago. I'm not sure which one they
I
just.
just looked at it.
We've had a few things with docks. We've had they waving, over in Seal, 700 Acre Island, there's been some dock approvals, wave shield for floats. There's been a bunch of different things.
Where, George, what were you saying? You just saw it?
I just looked that lease, and that's in Outer Brackets Channel off Joe Island.
Okay, yeah,
That's where-
that's the one over there, yeah,
And they want to drill kelp, that's what.
Right,
That's what.
right, okay. Yeah, that was quite a while ago, they started that. There's also another one by the cove on the other side of, 700 Acre Island too.
okay, but what is this for?
George said it's for kelp.
Kelp,
They want to grow kelp.
Well, yeah, you sure this is the one?
I just looked it up, Ken,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
I just read it like a half an hour ago.
all right, well, we were trying to find out. We weren't able to get it, so, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of dock things come through. And basically,
There's one over at, the Dark Harbor Pool, formerly Kingman's.
right.
That one, I've looked at that one.
It was nothing to, everything is fine.
Yeah, looks fine.
And then there was, didn't impede the navigation.
Yeah, and there was already a structure there.
Right.
That one looked totally reasonable.
Yeah.
That's the only one I looked at.
Then there, on DeWolf, on 700 Acre, put a wave shield, same as Lazard's got on his. And I actually ended up talking to the DMR 2-3 times, back and forth about it, a lot of questioning, sight lines, what's on the other side. Finally just said, yeah, there's no reason not to do it. But it goes into the beyond low tide line. So that took, but they've already done it on the next one out a number of years ago. And it doesn't bother fishermen, it doesn't interfere with navigation. It services more than one family. So they took all those things into consideration. So
Okay.
anyway,
All right, we have a preliminary discussion of, FY 26 budget. Uh, Topics that you'd like to have us address. Committee members, do you have any, thing that you'd like to have us stress or? Just do the same thing we've been doing? It's a gamble, regardless of what we do, as far as the weather is concerned. We had some bad storms last year. Hopefully that won't happen this year.
We did beef up the moorings at Grindle Point a lot, remember from last year.
Right, so that,
Hopefully,
hopefully what,
it'll stay put. And the electrical has been all upgraded and improved.
now we gotta
Warranty
protect.
for at least a year.
We hope.
No.
I guess as far as budget, the monkey in the room or the elephant in the room is gonna be, starting to plan for the replacing that Seal Harbor.
All right, we contribute, the town of Islesboro contributes, sum of money, 15,000, to the Lincolnville budget. That helps to pay for the renovations they've done over there. If there are things that you can think that we should ask the town of Islesboro to do, we could include that in the budgets too. It's, I noticed today, there were two big derricks over there, huge derricks. They were driving pilings down on the other side, right where the hoist is. So they were doing some work, and these were, 10, 12-foot units that they're driving down in.
Huh.
I don't know what that was for, but
Probably replacing some of the rotten, pilings on the wharf, if I had to guess.
May I sit in?
Of course.
yeah,
It's Scott, right?
Yeah, Scott DeGrasse, 508 Ferry Road.
What is the plan for Grindle Point, the work that needs to be done at the wharf at Grindle Point?
Ethan Spalding is gonna do the railings. And PYY is gonna do the beams. On the deck.
The decking,
I initially was talking to PYY about doing everything. And then we didn't have another bid. So I started talking to Ethan about it. And when I got into talking to Ethan, he looked at it. I gave him the go-ahead, and then it became apparent that he's not able to do the deck. So I went back to PYY and asked them if they would do the deck, even though Ethan's doing the railings, and they said, yeah, whatever.
and when you say do the deck, are you gonna remove and replace select pieces? or-
Yes,
Okay,
rotten
okay.
beams.
Do you have
About,
any idea how much that's gonna be?
under $8,000.
Well, ask the town.
that,
Ask the town for the money. Is there money available for that?
no.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, I think doesn't she have a reserve?
Shit, yeah, well, when I say it's not in a budget per
Yeah,
se,
Okay,
that reserve props up every now and then.
Yeah.
There is money to pay for the reserve, but
Can we get together a list of projects and estimates, so we can have a better idea rolling into next year, like how much money we should be asking for. I'm really still, I hate to say it, I'm still kind of hung up on the fact that we don't charge a mooring fee of any kind. And it feels like we're, I mean, just over the course of this meeting, we've come up with multiple projects that are gonna be multiple thousands of dollars a piece. And in order to maintain these systems we have, the infrastructure we have through these storms and year after year, are we gonna be able to continue going to the town every year asking for $15,000 or $20,000 for new projects every single year?
Yeah,
With
right.
nothing to contribute, or are we gonna have to kind of face this hard reality that we need to start charging people for the use of these facilities to continue their upkeep?
Well, the argument traditionally has been on all these, that if the people that utilize these things should have the larger share of paying for these things, and that's what the argument we gave when we tried to instigate a mooring fee before, and we weren't looking for a big one. You know, we started, what was it, $25 we talked
Yeah,
about?
that's all I'm thinking. is
And boy,
$30.
I was amazed at the pushback we got.
What's the dinghy fee right now?
Huh?
What's the dinghy fee right now?
25,
25?
yeah. And,
So I mean, at 180
I think
moorings
it's
that we
20.
might have total, if you're doing $25, you're still not touching it.
It's $20.
Yeah, so,
And the other thing I'll add to this conversation is that the repairs that we're doing on Grindle Point are addressing an issue, like we're replacing some rotten beams.
Right.
The beams we're replacing are the same age as all of the other dock. Here, okay, yes. Yeah, that's just something to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, just, just let me
And
step.
raising, raising the pier 2 to 4 feet, to not comply, but get ahead of it, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
the underpinnings are actually in good shape. The
Yeah.
big steel beams are
Yep.
very good on the primary.
They are. I mean, overall, I think it looks.
Yeah, and that's
pretty
high,
good.
and that's higher than like our Seal Harbor dock, for example, is just minuscule in comparison.
Have we received a report from the structural engineer that presumably looked at the dock?
I don't know. I didn't have a contact for. I thought you were in contact with them. I didn't hear him.
Well, I don't know who the guy was, so. George,
I think you would know better,
Maybe.
Pete. If the town of Islesboro yearly ponies up $15,000
Uh-huh.
to Lincolnville.
Yep.
What is so unusual about asking the town of Islesboro to pony up $15,000 for stuff here?
For stuff here, I don't think it would be unusual.
Well, we
I
do-
think
we
the
do.
volume, I think what we're spending,
With our budget every year, we do ask for money.
I mean, I don't think it's crazy. I'm just thinking about sitting through multiple of those school budget meetings and the amount of we went through with that and how nitpicky people were about it. I think the more that we come at them saying, we need 10 or 20,000 this year for this, and we need 20 or 30 next year for that. I think we're gonna run into more pushback, and then we're gonna, I think it can become even more of a divisive, issue, I guess is how I would look at it, just think about it, if you've got 180 boats in the water and you got 2,000 people in town at the time in the summer, all these taxpayers they're all paying, their taxes are all gonna go up to support a very small handful. And I think that could cause, I just think it's worth investigating how we can bring in more revenue to help offset these high costs. How we do that, I don't know. I'm just latched on the fact that we charge a dinghy fee, but we don't charge more.
so let's do this, let's plan to raise as many topics as you'd like to raise. That's one of them. When we start dealing with the budget, we'll put that on as one of all the other issues. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. There was a major pushback what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, when people came at us, well, we pay taxes, we do this, or an island, you know. But we're one of the only places anywhere that doesn't charge mooring fees.
Right. I think if you were showing exactly where that was going, like if it was to a year-round life safety vessel, I think you might get more support for a small fee, and at 180 moorings, you know, $30 fee gets you $3,600. That might cover your, you know, annual maintenance cost on something like that, but.
But we are gonna have some big expenses coming up, you know, I mean, tune of $60,000 or so, 70 maybe for up there.
Gentlemen, can you wanna address us?
Oh,
Shay has her hand raised online.
What's that?
no,
Shay has her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Oh, you guys lucked out. It's not Shay. It's Josh. I think that a mooring fee is key to like making the working waterfront on Islesboro function, and you shouldn't just keep it at the harbors that, you know, the town harbors. You should put a fee on every mooring around this island, and you're going to be talking close to 1,000 moorings, and that's where you drum up your money. Just like Northport, Lincolnville, and Belfast, they all charge for a mooring across their whole shoreline. And I wouldn't feel bad about asking the town of Islesboro to put money towards the waterfront, because it's important that people realize we are an island, and like that is your access to the mainland, is like a functioning waterfront. So you might not care about it and use it every day, but when you need to get off in an emergency or something happens, you're going to really wish that you had a nice waterfront and the floats weren't falling apart and things like that. So, I mean, people should pay. You should pay for having a mooring around Islesboro, whether it's in front of your house or whether it's not. And the fee should be probably $50. I know that's an unpopular view, but that would solve the problem, because the infrastructure does need a lot of work, you know, and $8,000 is not going to fix anything correctly at the ferry pier for the long term. You know, it's just another Band-Aid. So, you know, you need to like start getting some serious capital to fix things correctly. That's my
Well, thank you. Gentlemen, do you want from us?
Just about the ordinances, leaving floats down there.
I'd like to go back to something, Earl. But before I do that, I would like to know what the most current issue of the ordinance is. What year is the most current issue of the harbor ordinance? The one I looked at said 2010, is that correct?
It is.
how could that be?
How could what be?
How could it be 2010 since it's been? I think that the date might be inaccurate. Because there have been ordinances updated.
All right, well, can
I
somebody,
could be wrong about that, I'm
can
sorry.
somebody look up the harbor ordinance?
I don't have that with you, John.
We can look it up
Keep
online.
looking it up.
The harbor committee related ordinances were amended in 2019.
Sounds more.
So that, which is probably a little more reasonable. That said.
I was distracted with Seal Harbor and that dock.
Hmm?
I was distracted with copy with me, but I didn't.
Well, Pete's looking it up.
They're all showing like Seal Harbor swimming area, section 142-22
Yeah.
is showing, or 142-23 is showing amended 6/6/2012, 11/20/2019. So I can't find a specific thing related to a float on the shore, but it sounds like at least there's something more modern. Is there's a physical copy, not this online version? I don't know where that would be.
Yeah, I've
It's in
got,
the-
I've got
it's
the
in
whole
the
thing
book.
right here.
Terry, have you got it? Have you got the,
Not yet, but there's a physical copy here.
Well, it says here floats,
Although,
where is this?
Terry, could you look up section 4.2.17?
Chapter 142, section 142, harbor.
4.2.17. This relates to the floats that washed up on the road last winter. The fishermen storing floats and
I don't know. I don't know if this is what you mean.
There's one thing that says here that boats are not allowed any time within any of the shore areas unless it's for structural repair and written permission is granted by the harbor master, deputy harbor master.
yeah, from April to.
And then the boat is only allowed in the shore for 1 week.
okay, and the next section, the next sentence,
And 2 is September 30th through May 1st. But it doesn't say that there's a given right to do it.
if you
Well, it doesn't
read
say there
the
isn't
beginning of it,
Well, that's a decision that we can make based on safety and damage.
the ordinance says, if you read that section, Earl, it is allowing people, it's not disallowing people from putting floats
Right.
there.
It's not disallowing, it's not.
Are we reading the same section Q that says floats are not allowed at any time of any of the shore areas unless?
Yes,
So it starts out by disallowing it, unless you meet certain criteria, correct?
yes, and then the
So what are
next,
those criteria? That you have structural repair and written permission has been granted, so those are 2 criteria, that's 1.
yes.
Structural repair plus written permission, correct?
Good.
All right.
And the next section,
Well, no, why, we have to get through the first section first, so we can understand the second section. So everyone's on the same page, not everyone has this up in front of them.
Right, right. Then it does say it is September 30th through May 1st, which,
So that written permission though, back under 1, is only allowed on the shore area for 1 week. So with permission, and it's for structural repair, you can keep it there for 1 week.
right,
Under unusual circumstances, the harbor master may extend the privilege for 1 additional week. So you have 2 potential weeks here with written permission for structural repair, as long as it's between September 30th and May 1st.
no,
Yeah.
No,
no,
Okay.
that's not.
I think that was-
that's not the way it's written.
No, it's not the way it's written.
yeah, that would be,
It's written to keep people off from,
During the summer months.
from during the summer.
yeah,
And
May
it's
1st to
written so
September.
that people can put floats there during the winter. The reason why I'm saying this, Earl, is that, I think there's a conflict in what you're trying to do and what the ordinance says.
It was. It's not saying that it's a right to do it, it's saying, I think the harbor master can determine. You know, what happened last winter. Kind of precluded that,
I think everything you're trying to do makes sense, Earl,
yeah,
and I support it,
yeah,
okay? And I think it's the right thing to do.
yeah.
But I think that it is conflicting with what the
Yeah,
ordinance
well,
says.
we'll have to change that to make it clearer, but I do think the harbor master has the ability to, and maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but to override that.
But if the intent of the ordinance is one thing, the Master can't overrule the intent. It's only if it's structural repairs or something like that.
It's that floats are not allowed at any time within unless it is September. But
Josh has
that's
his-
not saying,
his
it's
hand
not
up again.
worded that floats may be put there. It's saying, it's not, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but it's not saying I think it's with permission.
Now, from shipping regulations to the electrical code, every item like this, unless it's clear that it's an or an and, it's both items have to be met because it's clearly an unless at the top under Q. And so the two subsections then would have to be met. Just, you should ask a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer, but
Yeah,
I
that's, I
write a
think
lot of codes.
Greg and I are probably interpreting the same way from our background in shipping, but,
That you would have those two conditions that you'd have to meet according to,
I mean, we could change it to put it completely in the affirmative. That, they cannot be put there.
I'd have to go to a town vote on
Who is interested in?
Josh.
I mean, Carrie, you wanna put your float in there? We have a bunch of floats in there,
It's anybody that,
huh?
it's not just me, it's anybody that,
Yeah, well, I mean, you're the only one that really pushed back on it, so I'm addressing you on it.
well, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. And
Yeah, but
just
I don't know
going
how you
it's
do it
on
right.
no Because of two people, that's wrong.
Yeah, in those conditions, I don't know how you keep a loaded float sitting in there with the sea conditions we had. I mean, your float was damaged.
Would've got more damaged out on the mooring.
Well, how do you know? If it wasn't loaded with floats and it was sitting in the mooring, I don't know that it would have been. I mean, many of them weren't. There were a lot of floats that sat on moorings that were absolutely not damaged last winter. And the ones on the shore were damaged extensively.
Why didn't get damaged that bad?
Well, it butted up against the docks and the rocks and the,
You had Dylan, you had a suggestion dealing with floats this winter.
Yeah, big offshores, if they can put sufficient offshores, to keep them off the rocks.
they're still gonna pound. And they're gonna be twisted as the tide comes up on an incline. The leading edge will be on, and the other one's banging up and down like
Right.
this, and it's gonna break them in half. I don't care how well they're tied, they're gonna, I mean, I did many of them.
Right, I worked at the
And you did too,
yard you started.
and they are gonna start coming apart.
I don't know.
Um,
I got my hand raised.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
First
Oh,
off,
man.
the way I read the ordinance is that you need harbor master permission during the summer months to put a float there, and that the town is always allowed floats to be put on the beach from September to May 1st. That's always been the rule. And I think that some people abused that last year. The honest to God, the mess was Les's and Seth's over on that west side of the ramp. That was, that was the real mess. Like Carrie's float got some damage. My float, my children's float got some damage. Randy's float got some damage. All that got cleaned up. All that got moved out. And I don't think you can change an ordinance without a town vote. You don't, it's not no one's ever asked permission to put a float there from September to May. And I do think with like bigger offshores that we would be able to keep the floats there. And, it's two storms, 1 in 100-year storms back to back. I mean, I don't think that you should be able to punish all the fishermen and not let them put their floats there. I think that just sets like a bad precedence for Islesboro supporting working waterfronts and the local economy. I mean, yeah, did it look bad for a little bit? Yeah, the west side of the ramp looked really bad because that was let to get out of control and everyone knew it was getting out of control and those were junk floats. But those of us that were actually treating it right and trying to take care of our stuff and down there trying to tend to it, we cleaned up our mess and it was all picked up. So I think that the floats should be allowed there, and in the ordinance, it clearly states that we can from September to May. And I think bigger moorings to hold them off will help it.
So let's say we allowed the floats to be put only on the east side, or north side of the ramp with a certain distance from the ramp. What other regs would we put? Like, how would we ensure that they'd be adequately secured offshore? Would that be at the expense of the fishermen to put adequate anchors?
It's all at the expense of the fishermen. And I don't think it's the town's job to try to protect personal property of the fishermen necessarily. It's more the job to make sure that when the shit hits the fan, that it's actually cleaned up properly. And the problem was, it's not whether they're on the east or the west side of that ramp or the north or the south. It's that there was junk floats that were brought in there and left unattended to, and that created the real mess. And that's what, if you took the optics out of those like two junk floats that came in destroyed and then ended up even further destroyed into like multiple pieces that were on that lighthouse side of the boat launch, I don't think that we would even be having this discussion necessarily. I just think, I think with a couple of bigger moorings, I mean, either some screw and anchors. I mean, it's not really legal for me to go drive pilings to try to like hold them offshore, even though that would be really nice. I think that they can be safely stored on the other side or both sides of the ramp like they always have for the last, 30, 40 years.
What about if they were put further to the north? I mean, that whole area was nothing on that.
No, that's actually a good section. Like when you get tucked over there, it's actually more protected as you go towards the point.
I mean, everybody wants to put them close to the ramp because you can drive a truck down there easier. It's more convenient, but what if someone came in unloaded and moved it way over and kept them away from we've got to keep that ramp well clear. I mean, it was so bad last spring, we had stuff floating all over the place out there and it was a mess.
Oh yeah, no, it was junked up, and believe me, I'd like stuff further away from the ramp so I could get the barge in there to load or unload. I mean, it has, I'm wider than the ramp. And I think the harbor committee could encourage people to put them more towards the north and maybe not right up against the ramp. I think that would be.
I think we've got to be more just encouraging them. I think we've got to have, this is the way it's, if we're going to do that, I wouldn't be opposed to that if that's what people want to do, but I don't want to be dealing with stuff like I had to deal with last spring. I mean, I was there so much on the phone, so much, having so much grief and physically going down, cleaning stuff up on a pair of crutches. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. And I agree that you shouldn't have to deal with that, but I think we can also agree that the fishermen that are attentive to their stuff, like your Carries, your Randys, my children, me, everyone that had their stuff on the other side did do their best to take care of it. And, what happened was like a catastrophic event, and we did the best we could and we cleaned up after it. What was happening on the other side of the ramp? Well, that was a bunch of poor decisions and just like an incredible mess. I mean, that was a huge mess that should never have been allowed to happen. So
would there be room enough on the north side to put all the floats that would want to go in there? And not on the part that takes the worst beating is in the corner, on the ferry side of it. That was where the worst things were happening. Where
I can't
everything.
That was the
I can't speak for everyone, but I think there is.
It gets hard to keep the ramp clean, to keep lines from going across. If you're going to put adequate lines and offshore moorings there, or pins or whatever, it seems like there'd be room for a lot of floats to stay on that north side.
Oh,
And
yeah.
keep, stay
That
maybe
doesn't-
25 feet from the edge of the ramp.
Yeah. No, and that's fine, but all those are common sense. And then like, if you really want to enforce it, those are ordinance changes that require a town vote. And I'm not opposed to making an ordinance that says you keep things 25 feet away from the ramp unless you're unloading or loading. You know, that would make sense, and that would keep a float from going across the ramp and blocking it.
Yeah, we can't have that ramp blocked.
No, but I think that those are, you know, right now, those are common sense issues that we should just talk about. And that, you know, to change it, you know, that's an ordinance change and that's a town vote. Which we should put some thought in, or you guys should put some thought into it and draw up a good ordinance and change it. And
All right, I think, anything else, Josh?
no, that's it. I just feel that, you know, floats are allowed there, and we'll do our best to keep it clean and set some bigger moorings, do whatever we have to do to try to keep them off. But I just think it would be a shame for the town to not let people try to utilize that, because, you know, most lobstermen are not waterfront owners, and these things do have to go somewhere. You know,
Right.
they're heavy floats, and sometimes they do last better on a mooring, but when you put a 300-400 traps on a float and then it gets cold and it ices up, like all those traps make ice, and then it becomes an even bigger problem on the mooring. So
Yeah. No doubt
and hopefully we don't have
that's-
these storms.
Right, I mean, they need a spot to put their stuff though, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. There has to be space, but we can't block the ramp.
No,
Now,
for sure.
I've got no problem about calling everybody again and saying this, we could do this, but it's, you know, we've got to make a decision here.
Well, I think, first thing is, we need to have an interpretation from the town council as to what her interpretation is of the ordinance. You made a decision, and
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to compromise on that. I see their point. I understand the history of it, but we just can't have stuff going over the ramp and butting up against the roadway again. If people are gonna do the right thing, fine, but I don't know if we can count on everyone to do the right thing.
well, there's no guarantee that what happened last winter isn't gonna happen again.
Right.
Probably guaranteed. Yeah.
We aren't that good. However, I think, before we get too far along, we had a bad situation last year where we had a fish house that was in terrible condition. If that person was fine, we wouldn't have the problem we had. And so I think it behooves us to enforce the ordinance the way the people voted for it. They expect to carry it out, and I think one person, whether it's a Habermas or deputy Habermas, makes a decision, and it has to be enforced. And I understand there are some problems with some law enforcement people that they go ahead and do that job, and then all of a sudden they're not fined. They come to the office and nothing happens. So, but that's my opinion. Is we don't need to create a whole bunch of new situations here.
You know, people, before too long, you know, people are gonna need to have a place to put their floats. If we are gonna allow that, I mean, I think we've got to make a decision tonight, what we're gonna do or how we're gonna handle this thing.
I think we should strongly recommend, encourage the fishermen to set adequate offshores and strongly suggest that they set them east of
The ramp.
the ramp as much as is practicable. And talk with them.
Try it another year.
Should it be?
The idea is to keep the ramp open.
Yeah,
Okay.
understand that.
Keep the ramp open and keep derelict.
I mean, right
Structures
now,
off the
the other
beach,
thing,
right?
Kerry, is an issue is,
I just have I have a question relative to the derelict. Is there any way that you can build into the ordinance that there's an inspection
It's sort of,
of the actual floats that are on moorings? Because I've seen floats on moorings out there that are half sunk.
There is now.
So I wonder if that's the harbor master permission.
Those
part of
shouldn't
it.
even be allowed into close proximity of the ramp.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that their navigational hazard, absolutely, stuff comes off them all the time and ends up on our beach.
So is that like a pro
it's-
forma harbor master permission as it's written in the?
Something should be written
Because that-
about that,
at
because
least that
that
way.
would stop, you could prevent it from the very beginning. You could hit them in the summertime when they're out there derelict all summer long.
yeah, if the float isn't adequate, then we deem it's not safe to put on the shore, then say you
Navigational hazard.
can't do it.
You remove it, and if it's on the town mooring, it
Yeah.
goes,
Yeah, yeah,
or they're fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a harbor master, you guys are the ones determining whether or not it's a hazard.
right.
And as experts in building piers and floats, you know.
Yeah,
if
because
it's
some of
derelict.
some of the floats were put in there that were half falling apart.
They should never even.
They shouldn't be in there.
Right,
You're right.
so to me, start there. And then, but I do like the idea of everything east of the ramp, and it makes a lot of sense if you guys are putting down sea anchors, and if you guys can coordinate, stack them all up and line them up in session. Bumpers, you got bumpers everywhere, I mean, I know it's not easy. But
Okay.
So
starting offshore. would be
should we maybe have, you or I just look at them to say this it's gonna be okay? What do you think, Kerry, about doing that?
Yeah, there is a lot of derelict floats out there. That's
You know,
been there for a couple of years on more.
maybe it should be with harbor master approval to put the fishing floats there. Would you feel comfortable with
Yeah, I'd
that?
be fine with that.
What does everyone else think about that?
I
I
would
think
have
that's still an ordinance. Dave.
without proper process.
That way, we wouldn't have a
You
derelict
need-
float being
you
put on
need
there.
something written in the
I
ordinance.
think that's in the ordinance with harbor master permission.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds like we're
Right
talking
there.
about trying
Harbor
to
That's a-
masters need a lot of authority.
understand ordinances and,
Yeah.
and interpret, and I don't think that's a smart move. We should not be
Yeah.
interpreting the meeting tonight.
What's that now?
I said, it sounds like what you were talking about was interpretations of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Right? So I wouldn't go making any major change or trying to tell someone how to do something based on an interpretation of an ordinance without first checking with the attorney to get what they
Yeah,
know.
but people
So
are
I
gonna
think
be
trying to
doing,
make decisions
people are gonna be
tonight-
doing this very soon. They're gonna
Right,
need a place to
so
put their floats.
Perhaps we need to have an emergency meeting that isn't 3 months from now.
Josh, what are you saying?
The attorney. So I don't think it's great either.
Did Josh say something?
I was just gonna say it sounded like a change of the ordinance. I mean, the way I read the ordinance, and I have since I was a child, was, you only asked permission when it was the summer months because that was in the way, and then, you had the right to put your float on the beach in, September to May. That's how I've always interpreted the ordinance. So I think to really have a leg to stand on, you guys would need to change the ordinance. Do I think that junk floats absolutely should not be, they shouldn't even be on moorings, nonetheless on the beach. I would rather a junk float was on the beach where we could at least pick up the mess than it was on a mooring where it's gonna go through and like wreck, a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 $1 million boat. So I mean, I do think that a change needs to take place and you should do it in the ordinance. Junk floats should not be allowed certainly in the controlled harbors, Seal Harbor, and the ferry. I mean,
I don't think we have any in the harbor though.
no, I know, like,
kind of around the.
I've had some junk floats and I move them out of the harbor. I'm not stupid. So
The thing with the derelict floats, it seems like it would be a derelict vessel. And those are
They're hard to deal with. They
They're
go,
hard to deal with, and the town already doesn't have money for us for what we need, and
this rolls back to charging a user fee for a mooring all the way around Owlsboro. You
Yeah, I
know,
agree. Yeah.
I think that, and I don't think that it should be just the managed harbors, Seal Harbor and Owls, you know, and the ferry, you know, it should be all around the island. And believe me, I'm going to get hit, not the worst, but I'm going to be one of the worst ones hit. But if that money stays in the harbor fund for floats and improvements to the infrastructure, I think that you got to do it. Who cares if people's feelings?
so do we start the discussion again about making the entire island?
Well, I think I'd like to get this resolved right now, but
Well,
I'm
I mean,
gonna
there's
go
a-
point because I've got to deal with that directly.
And there's a whole nother ordinance dealing with, you know, derelict floats. So, I mean,
what we need to find out, my understanding is the harbor master has the authority if something's derelict or hazard to navigation or in the shoreland areas to have authority about that. Now, maybe I'm mistaken, but I believe we have that authority.
and, I mean, in the ordinance,
So I think that we would have the authority to say, I'm sorry, but this float is derelict and this, you've got to dispose of that float. You know, I
it's in
dealt with that this
142-20.
summer already with one float. That was, we had a real protracted problem this summer, finally got it dealt with, and it was a pain in the butt, but, I don't know if he's disposed of it or what happened, I don't know where it went.
Gone.
Huh?
It's gone.
It's gone, and it was, but it took, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of what I'm saying, is that
I
these things
finally had
are
to go deal with it in person,
Very-
with the guy.
difficult to deal with.
And these problems are, I believe we have the authority to, you know, put some bite in it. I'd like to say that we've got the authority to say, okay, this float isn't safe to be tied up there. Look, you've got blue styrofoam breaks up, floats all around the place. That's illegal if you want to get it looking at laws. That's putting plastic in the water. That's federal. You're not supposed to do it. You can't do it. If someone wants, the Marine Patrol comes in, they can raise hell about it. You know, but that happened. And if you put a derelict thing in there, it's gonna happen.
If we think we've spent a very bit of time on this issue, George, you raised this, you were
Well, I don't
concerned.
want everything to come to a stop. I mean, because what Earl wanted to do makes a lot of sense. I mean, all anybody had to do was to drive by there after those storms and see that stuff that was destroyed.
Right.
So, you know, what you're trying to do is well intended. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I don't wanna do nothing. I don't wanna turn around and say, well, okay, you guys can put your floats back there. I think you should, this is just my view. Go back and talk to them and say, okay, if you put a significant offshore mooring to prevent the floats from hitting the riprap and then go ahead and put the floats further east.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll be happy to do that and I'll do it right away.
and then, you know,
I think that would be a reasonable compromise.
and in the meantime,
On the other side was,
you just,
should never been allowed.
because the ordinance, in my view, doesn't at this point allow you to say you can't put the floats here, basically you're
Yeah, if we have,
asking.
if people are responsible and do it properly, I don't have a problem with it. But we've got to be ensured that they do, and, you know, that, I think was
Those
what
were
Kerry
bad
should.
storms back to back last year, and it was.
Okay,
So I'll do that. So let's just say that we'll leave it at that. I will call the fishermen again, say that they've got to be on the east side, clear of the ramp, adequately secured out, and I will inspect how they've got them. And I will inspect how they're secured. I think that's fair. Because we just cannot have another winter like we had last year with that again. And if there is a problem, then the fishermen have to deal with it, clean up in a reasonable time. So,
All right, we'll go ahead that way, and I'll talk to Janet tomorrow about having an opinion,
okay,
a legal opinion.
okay,
And, I had that on our agenda a couple of weeks ago, asking anybody if you have any question about the ordinance or have a suggestion for changing the ordinance. Right now, I think what we need to have is a clarification as to what the ordinance legally says. And we'll go from there.
right, and authority, what authority we have to,
Right,
right. So I'll look into that. I'll find that out and see what's in the book.
yeah, but I feel that the harbor master doesn't have authority to do anything they want to do.
No,
They can't work against the intent of the ordinance.
right.
That to me is,
You have to uphold state and federal rules.
right. Well, anyway. The harbor master course I took was, 8 years ago. All right, is there anything else for the group tonight?
Well, if you're gonna change an ordinance or add to it, you better start soon because it's gotta go through a town vote
Right.
in May.
Have you considered thinking about a date 4 weeks from now to have
Okay,
another
let's see
meeting
what
in
the-
between? It seems like we can lay out a process like right here, right now, right? Like we can say, we're gonna ask Janet to speak to the attorney tomorrow, right? And we can give the attorney will take a couple days to get back to us. Then you need to think about, do we have another emergency meeting in 2 or 3 weeks where we can take? what
Well,
the
I think
attorney gave us
this
and what
one,
we
I think
want?
this one thing is resolved for now. I mean,
Okay, it doesn't sound like it's very
But-
resolved.
because they're gonna be
Yeah,
bringing,
It sounds very unresolved to me.
they're gonna be bringing floats in soon.
Right, that's why I'm saying, like,
And
we
I
have
sympathize
to
with the
act on
fishermen on
this, like,
that.
in a
They need to
timely-
know.
Right, we'll go ahead
Okay.
tomorrow, we'll find out,
I know when you plan on it.
and we'll schedule a meeting.
I think that's what you need to do, so you can then figure out what changes you want to make, and then you can present to the town, which needs 7 days notice.
Well, wouldn't the attorney be able to tell us if the interpretation is correct, and then we don't
The
need
attorney
any of
would
this, and
need
then Will can just say,
24
yeah, it's
hours.
okay to do what I said?
Yeah.
Then we don't have to have another meeting, no problem.
You're right.
Right.
It just seems like we meet every 3 months, I mean, like, what do you expect to get done in any time?
He can call a meeting if he wants to.
Yeah, all right.
All right,
Wish you the
and,
best.
but I appreciate everybody bringing stuff up. It's
Yeah.
very important to get everything on the table and we'll hash it over. All right, if there's no further discussion, have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
All okay. Thank you. Yeah. Really